knew there was no help from you. Sound of the drums beating in my heart. The thunder of drums turn me apart. You've been thunderstruck. Shaking up the knees. Could I come again? Yeah, the pain is what you got. You've been thunderstruck. Thunderstruck. Yeah, thunderstruck.
Good evening. Welcome to the Tennessee Thunder podcast with your hosts, Jason Mills and Stephanie Davis. Tennessee Thunder is a watchdog covering local politics all across the state of Tennessee. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe to us on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Tonight, we have a very informative show, and we'll just say a podcast of interest for our public safety as well as choice for our children relative to public education. But first, our announcements. Let's add Jason on to our podcast. Whoops.
Well, there was me. There I am.
Good evening, Jason. How are you this evening?
I'm a little cold and buried in the snow out here in Big Ridge, as everybody else is across the state, the county, wherever all the snow fell. I don't know where it all fell, but there's a lot here. I think we've got like 9 inches out there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we had about 8 here at the house. I measured on top of my vehicle as well as out in the yard just to make sure we had precise measurements. And I even posted it on my Facebook page this morning. So, yeah, it's been a little bit chilly. Well, what have we got going on in our community?
Well, we've got lots of things going on, lots of things that we need to pay attention to. Remember, folks out there that are watching this podcast, remember to like, share, comment. We appreciate it. Ask any questions that you have at any point in time. And we'll get to those just as quickly as we possibly can if you do. But our next meetings we've got coming up that we need to pay attention to. January the 22nd is our next county commission meeting. We need to be attending that as many folks as possible. We're going to be learning more about what kind of tax increases we might have coming up, what the plan is for this new jail that they're trying to build, and all types of things that we need to be paying close attention to, including the new middle school that apparently they don't have enough money to actually complete, from what I'm being told. Lots of things that we need to stay on, that we need to stay on top of. And so we need to get as many people out there to these commission meetings and such as possible. Also, on that same night, I believe we've got a rally that some of us are going to as well. And Stephanie can talk about that or whatever here shortly. So that's a very important day on several different fronts that we need to, like I said, make sure we're paying attention to. And then on the following day, January the 23rd, that will be our next podcast, and we'll cover what goes on in the commission meeting and that kind of thing. And then on January the 30th will be the Union County Conservative Republican Party's next mix and mingle. So I believe that's going to be a Hardee's, and some announcements came out about that and all that kind of good thing. So I believe that's going to be a Hardee's, and we'll be meeting. What time we meeting there?
That will be at 7 p.m.
7 p.m. And then our next big trip to Nashville is on February the 6th. Just getting my notes up here. February the 6th is our next visit to the state capitol. And we'll discuss more about that here later in the podcast. I believe you and I are going to discuss some of the things we learned and what we saw and all those kinds of things while we were out there in Nashville.
Absolutely. It was a great day.
I believe that's the next meetings we've got coming up and such.
Right.
Other than that, I don't have.
Just to tighten things along there for our next mixer, this is a bring a friend, bring a family member event. Bring someone who is interested in running for public office. If that's you, that's great. If it's someone else that you think may have a want to run for public office, or who may be interested in public office, we are interested in talking with them, as well as our newly formed Union County Constitutional Republican Party. Both entities are very interested in making sure that we have conservative values in our state, as well as our local government. And so be sure to bring them with you. Bring a dessert. Bring some cookies, some pie. We're approaching February. If you want to try out some of your Valentine's favorites with us, that's fine. But we'll probably have a mixer just for our Valentine's event coming up later in February. But anyway, we're just going to keep it simple. Have our meeting at the place we always had them in the beginning, because money right now is a little tight with folks with Christmas, and we just want to keep it as economical as possible. All that we ask is that you maybe purchase some coffee or a drink from Hardee's, but other than that, we'll have all the desserts you need. And of course, I'm not going to make any guarantees that they're calorie free. I'm not going to go that far. I'm not a politician. All right. Well, speaking of public safety.
Hold on, Stephanie. Let me check something, because somebody says that we're just cut off.
Oh.
Let me check.
Oh, maybe
Nope.
we are.
Well, nope. Mine says we're still live. Must be the other person.
Okay.
Oh, we're still here.
Everything was going smoothly till that. That's
Yeah,
okay.
we're still here. Must be their connection.
Yeah, it says we have several people watching. Okay, perfect. So, again, you can bring your dessert, and please, most of all, bring someone interested in running for county commission or school board. Now, school board is our next election. That'll be in March. We have how many seats, Jason, up for grabs? Is it 3 or 2? Do you know? For
I
school
didn't
board?
hear you. I got to turn my volume up. I guess you're talking off a little
Your
today.
volume. Yeah. Turn that volume up. So,
Well, I've been. Here's the thing. I've been sick for a few days, and this ear keeps getting clogged, and I can't hear out of it. And so I think that's part of it too. I can't hear.
okay.
So what did you say one more time?
Eh? I'll start treating you like Papa.
Okay, just don't call me Biden. Okay.
All right. So I know that we have some Board of Education seats that people are basically running for office. And I think we have 2, or is it 3 up for grabs? Do you know?
I believe it's 2 this time.
Mm-hmm. So basically, the way the school board races operate is every 2 years, part of the school board runs. So we have several seats. Hopefully, we'll have the exact seats in the next on the next podcast. We'll have that available for you because we need folks in those districts to basically run. We do need some fresh blood in there. We need some people with new ideas. We need some conservative, some real conservatives in those seats. So please, whatever you do, try to bring someone to that meeting. And I'm sorry about my head going back and forth, but for some reason, I can't get the right placement. I'm having to turn my camera sideways in order to make it look straight, which is kind of strange. I don't know.
That's me. I'm sitting right in front of my laptop, but it looks like I'm sitting to the side. I don't know what's up with this stuff today.
Yeah, we got an upside down world.
We got something going on.
Well, other than that, we'd love for you to join us on that trip to Nashville on February 6th. This is a all expense paid trip. Same folks that are sponsoring. We're sponsoring it from the last time. We'll be sponsoring it this time. The AFP, they usually take a bus over. They're hoping to take several. And this is an issue they're also passionate about. So whether you agree with them on other issues, this is something that would not be affordable if we didn't have transportation. So we really appreciate them providing the free trip, the vehicle for transportation, as well as food. And so it's an all-day trip. We usually leave around 7 a.m. and we return around 8:30, Jason, at night. So
Correct.
Be prepared to learn while you're there. They basically, as we go around talking with folks, they show you, or you'll meet a lot of the legislators. You'll also get to see how the Capitol's laid out. You'll get to see your representative possibly. We had hoped to see ours, but they were in a prayer meeting when we were there, a lunch.
We've seen one of them.
Yeah, we saw one. We saw Frank Nicely, and we had a great conversation with him about school choice. And so this kind of shows you how available our legislature is for us, we the people. We have a lot of power that we do not exercise as citizens. And so this little time at the Capitol will educate you a lot if you've never experienced this before, and you'll see just how user-friendly it is to talk with your legislator and basically learn the government processes and how these bills work and why we're in the shape we're in. But we had a pretty good crowd at the Capitol. We had people from the left and the right there, and all in between. and pretty much a full house. But it was opening day, and they had a lot of pomp and circumstance, of course, at the state capitol. So anyway, let's just move along. So Jason, you were going to talk with us a little bit until about 8:35. We do have Mr. Barnes, Constable Barnes, that is waiting. He'll be coming on around 8:35, and I've got him in at pause. So go ahead and talk with us about 911 till 8:35.
Well, first I wanted to say, as far as the Nashville trip, I did talk to them earlier today, and there was some concern about meeting in halls for the folks in Union County, that kind of thing last time because the rain, so on and so forth. Kind of made some people discouraged about coming and stuff like that. And so they are willing to add pickup locations like somewhere in Union County and that kind of thing if we get enough people going. So if you're interested in going, let us know, whatever. And then maybe, we get, 15, 20, 30 people that want to go from Union County, then maybe we can add a Union County, Union County stop on that bus route. So we just need to know so we can organize all that kind of good stuff and that kind of thing. So I did discuss that with them earlier today. So they're very accommodating to try to help anybody that wants to get out here and go to Nashville with us. So just let us know and get in contact with us, and we'd be happy to do that. All right. So 911. I don't know if you folks have watched the 911 committee meeting that we've had the other night. If you have, hopefully it made you a little upset. And this is one topic that I will say that I can agree with the UNL on. That's a shocker, isn't it? The UNL did do an article about this meeting, and it's very detrimental, if you ask me, to the citizens of Union County. We'll go through that meeting. It was a long meeting, but it only had a few topics in it. Okay. One of the topics that they discussed was a holiday pay for the workers there in the 911 center and that kind of thing. No problem with that. They can figure it out in their budget and all that kind of good stuff. How to pay holiday pay for however many days that they're going to pay it. They're still discussing if it's going to be 5 days, however many days, who's getting paid. They didn't hammer all those details out. They're going to look into it some more and decide what holidays they're going to pay for, whether it's going to meet the federal guidelines as far as holidays go, or if it's just going to be a Union County thing, or if they're just going to do their own thing on what holidays they're going to pay for. They're also got to decide on how they're going to pay that as far as where the funds are coming from. They also have to decide how they're going to pay as far as, okay, some of those folks work 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. or what have you from the night before a holiday. So that all those hours going to count, some of those hours going to count. So they've got all these details that they still have to work out. I don't have a problem with those workers getting holiday pay. I think if you work on a holiday pay, you should, or holiday, you should get holiday pay. That's just the way it is. It's fair to everybody. Most companies out there pay holiday pay and that kind of thing. So I'm not knocking that at all. Here is my problem. In that meeting, if you go back and watch it, or if you just read the article that the UNL has, in this meeting, a huge part of this meeting was a discussion about the services that 911 will give you. So if, let's say, well, let me back up. Every 911 operator is required to be trained, certified in, say, CPR and those kinds of things, okay? So keep that in mind. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there one more time. Newest member of the 911 committee, I want to congratulate. And she was also voted in as vice chair, and that is Miss Brittany. So congratulations, Brittany, for that. Throw that out there. So anyway, so back to the other one. All 911 dispatchers, operators are required to be certified in CPR and things like that. Okay? Here's the issue that came up in the meeting. So Andrew Reed, the head of 911 and that kind of thing, has decided, and the committee, the 911 committee, has voted to go along with his desire, which is to no longer allow 911 dispatchers to tell folks that call 911 for help that are having the biggest emergencies of their life how to help until somebody can get there, till first responder can get there, till EMS can get there, till whatever can get there. Every 911 center that I've ever heard of across the country, including all of the ones in the surrounding counties of Union County, if you call 911 and you've got somebody laid out there on the floor and they need CPR, those 911 operators will try to walk you through how to give somebody CPR, or try to help you say, give the Heimlich maneuver if somebody's choking, or try to walk you through how to do something if there's a catastrophic event going on in your life. Okay, that's how 911 should work. You can say, I don't feel comfortable doing that, I can't do that, whatever. That's on you. But the 911 operator should give you the assistance that you need at the time that you need it, instead of saying, "Oh, they're not really going to say this, but basically, they're just going to have to lay there until the ambulance gets there." So 911 in Union County, based on this vote, is no longer going to help you when you call 911 to give CPR or any of these life-saving measures. They're going to dispatch a ambulance or whatever you need, and that's what they're going to do. There's no more help after that, which is what 911 is supposed to be, folks, right? It's supposed to be your lifeline in your time of need. So the argument to that, according to Mr. Reed and that kind of thing, is that there's too much liability to the 911 operators when they answer that call and they say, okay, you need an ambulance, you got somebody there having a heart attack, whatever, needs CPR. Sorry, we can't tell you how to help anymore if you don't know, you're on your own until an ambulance gets there. So Andrew says it's too much liability for that 911 dispatcher to tell you how to do CPR or what have you, and that they would be liable, the county would be liable for any lawsuits or anything like that. Well, first of all, a county, anybody can be sued for anything at any time at any point. So that's kind of hogwash. The other point is a simple search, and according to the UNL, they say this exactly basically the same way, is that a simple search of Tennessee state law that, and read it, does a 911 operator who is trying to give helpful, because they're certified in these things, CPR and such. If they are certified and they are trying to walk somebody through this life-saving measure, CPR, whatever the case may be, if the person that's actually doing the activity does something wrong and causes an injury, breaks a rib, or whatever the case may be, is that 911 operator liable? Well, Tennessee state law, simple search, you look it up, you can Google it, what have you. Simple search says the 911 operator is not liable, not N-O-T, not liable for trying to give that life-saving information to a person trying to save a life. So then we just flip that right back to why in the world did Mr. Reed come along and tell this board the complete opposite? He said that they would be liable. Well, somebody didn't search the law or something, because I searched it, the UNL searched it, and like I said, this is one of the few times us and the UNL will actually agree. You cannot play both sides of the fence, okay? You can't say, okay, well, we can't do this because it's a liability, and then you got the law on the other side that says, no, it's not a liability. So something's not jiving somewhere. And I also, once again, want to remind everybody that every county surrounding Union County will still try to help you in your time of need. Union County 911 Board has voted to no longer give you the assistance that you need in your worst case scenario if something happens in your life.
So I guess my question is, the board has the capability of looking up state law. Why didn't they look up the state law prior to the vote to determine if that was truly valid?
I don't know. They asked Andrew if that was the law or whatever, and Andrew said that was the law, that they would be liable. I don't know where the miscommunication came from or what have you, but like I said, a simple search shows otherwise, and it shows, and it says plainly. If you read law, there's things that say will and shall and that kind of thing. Those words mean, it's like concrete. It's like it has to happen. Same thing with shall not and will not. Concrete. And the law says that a dispatcher shall not or will not be liable. So where the communication came from, I don't understand where the miscommunication came from, how a 911 dispatcher would be liable, because that's not law.
Well, those meetings are public meetings. So the community deserves to know what the answer is, obviously. And I'm going to try to reach out to Andrew myself this coming week. Do we have a podcast next week? I don't remember if that's on our schedule. Do we have a podcast next week? I think we do.
Yeah, we have a podcast after the commission meeting. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try to reach out to Mr. Reed and see if he can come onto the podcast and explain his position on that and the source for his position. And I'll also show him what we discovered, what the UNL discovered, and go from there. I think that's only fair to reach out to him, give him an opportunity to answer, in all fairness.
Right. And I don't know what the other board members would, why they voted that way either. I don't understand it. It's even a common sense thing to me. As a human being, I would want to help somebody as much as possible, no matter what.
Absolutely. Apparently, our podcast, we're having a problem with people seeing our podcast, which is probably why we only have one viewer. Probably because we had to send out so many notices about the live at the last minute. We do not have a whole lot of people on, but that's okay because these will play past the live point. I sent these out all day today, and they've probably put some more of their restrictions on our account. Sorry about that, folks, but that's just Facebook. Do you have anything else to add to that before we get on to the constable issue?
No. Well, the last thing I'll say about that is this should make a lot of people in Union County upset. And I would suggest everybody get a hold of your 911 board members and tell them that you're not satisfied with their lack of service. And it's not the 911 workers' fault. They're being told what to do by this board. And so, they're just doing what they're told. So I don't blame the dispatchers and such at all. And the only other thing in that meeting that they discussed was their floors are bad and they need them replaced. And Andrew doesn't want to replace them, and he wants the county to replace them instead of the 911 board.
All right. Well, we'll try to get him on the show next week. I will reach out to him. And now we're going to move on without further ado to the constable issue that's going on. And we're going to learn a little bit tonight about what constables do across our state and the great job they do county by county. And we had reached out to someone with the Constable Council. He was unable to join us tonight, but in his stead, we have Constable Sam Barnes. And Sam, give me just a minute. I'm going to add you to our podcast. We're kind of new at this. So let me get over there and try to get him on. Hi, Constable Barnes. How are you this evening?
Doing very well. How are you all?
Doing wonderful. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, we're going to get to know who you are. Let me start off. I'm going to find my information here.
I will say to the folks trying to watch us on Facebook, if you can, I think if you switch over to YouTube and watch us on YouTube, I think it's working on YouTube.
All right. So, Constable Barnes, how have you been enjoying all this snow?
Snow is it's a challenging thing, I think, for everybody in Tennessee. It's a very welcome thing until we get to about day 2 or 3 and everybody's sitting around thinking, when's it going to go away?
Yeah, I know. We haven't had a snow like this and for so long that it's really been nice just kind of hanging out at the house and catching up on some chores and whatnot. But just like everybody else, I'll be glad to go to work on Thursday. Hopefully that'll be the day. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, Constable Barnes.
Ma'am, I was elected into my constable's position in the last election in 2022. And that followed a very long career in law enforcement in the state of Tennessee. Just south of Nashville, I've been in law enforcement for going on 28 years. I'm very proud of that career choice. It's something I chose as a young man. And I believe it's something that we should be proud of. But it's an ever-changing world, law enforcement. And things are changing in the state of Tennessee. They're changing across the country. And there are many, many challenges that are presented to law enforcement in today's day and time, including what we're talking about just tonight.
Absolutely. Jason, you got something for him?
First, before I give you a next question, I want to say to the folks out there that there is a semi-truck that's traveling in the snow, whatever. There is a semi-truck within the last, 30 minutes or so, maybe a little longer, that has wrecked on Maryville Highway. That's actually blocking the whole highway. So stay out of that area if you can. That's down by Tolliver's. So stay away from that area if you can. So next question for you, sir. Again, on behalf of me and my family and all, thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for your service. And we appreciate you out there. And as a former law enforcement officer myself, I understand what you go through each and every day. So once again, thank you very much for your service.
Absolutely.
Many people do not know what the office of constable does and what they were created for, even though it's going all the way back to the Tennessee Constitution. So can you give us a little insight as to what the role of constable entails and why it was created?
Absolutely. Constables came into play back in the late 1700s, as did sheriffs, right around the same time. And if we look at our history books, I think that there's a very fine line between who was doing what, but it's very, very certain that not just sheriffs, but constables were enforcing laws, serving warrants, and protecting the peace of our great counties in our state here in Tennessee. Currently, we have just under 400 constables in Tennessee, and going all the way back to the 1700s, we've had a number of changes come forward from constables. And I talk about this matter not as a newly elected constable, but living life and remembering what was going on in the 80s and even up into the 90s and 2000s. I can tell you there's been times as a deputy sheriff myself or a police officer in the state of Tennessee that things were going horribly, horribly wrong. And you could almost bet somewhere, somehow, that you were going to turn around and there was going to be a constable pulling in behind you somewhere, even when the guys that you came to work with every day weren't there. So when I talk about constables, this is a long-standing tradition of law enforcement inside the state of Tennessee. And what's important, I think, for people to understand about constables is that they belong to the people. Constables are elected by the people, for the people, and they belong to them in a fashion like most other elected offices do. And although some people may forget that, they may forget the concept that, whether it be a county commission seat or a mayoral candidacy, that those elections bring representatives forward to do jobs for the people. And I think that it's important that people understand that they have an elected law enforcement representative, not just in the sheriff countywide, but they have their own in each district, elected constable, if they have constables in their county, that they can rely on for law enforcement purposes or any type of advice when it comes to criminal matters, for the service of civil and criminal process, those types of things. And I think a lot of people associate constables as a supplementary force to the sheriff's office or supplementary force to that type of thing. And I'm going to go right back to what I said just a few minutes ago, that constables are there for the people. They are separate from the sheriff's office. They are separate from the police departments, and they belong to the people.
Absolutely. So in the late 70s, we've touched on the fact that constables were written into the state constitution originally. So in the late 70s, our constitution was amended to remove the office from the constitution. That created some real problems for one of the last elected law enforcement offices that serves we the people. Can you elaborate why you think this occurred?
Well, when we take a look at what happened in the 70s and prior to that, you look at the position of the sheriff and what was written into law for the sheriff to oversee and his responsibilities, and then the responsibilities of what the constable would have had. And both the sheriff and the constables predating that were what we would call fee-based law enforcement. And they would make their salaries based off of fees that they would receive through the service of process and or criminal warrants and those types of things in the courts. And when that changed, the sheriffs, of course, became salaried and constables stayed fee-based. That has led to some political challenges for constables in a lot of places. There are some abilities that constables have that are just needed by the public. There are not many law enforcement positions out there where you can pick the phone up and contact a constable or contact a law enforcement officer in confidence and let them know about a number of or a variety of issues that you may be having very close to home. When we look at the changes that have come about, that part should not have changed, but I think it has. That personal relationship of our law enforcement to our community. And the constable is one of those things that is very, very personal to the districts themselves and their voters, whether they realize it or not. They belong to the people. So looking back at the 1970s and the challenges that has brought forward, I think that we can look at just about every avenue that you can think of being a hurdle for constables from the 1970s forward, including some of the training challenges and the challenges to do away with constables in certain counties and in different places where they have been done away with, when they could really and truly still be a major asset to the law enforcement community in a lot of the places they were done away with.
Absolutely.
But why should people across the state be concerned with this resolution to abolish constables in Greene County?
I think that people across the state of Tennessee should be concerned, one, because county commissions have been enabled by law to do away with the law enforcement powers and or the entire position of constables. Once again, I'm going to say it. Constables don't belong to the county commission. They don't belong to the sheriff. They belong to the people. Yet we have county commissions around the state of Tennessee that stand up and say, hey, we're going to do away with something that you voted into office. And I think that that's an extremely difficult thing for some people to understand. That is a very dangerous thing for our elected representatives to do away with things that we, the people, elect into office.
Absolutely.
That should, in my opinion, that should be a very public choice. My constituents should be able to, if there is a genuine concern about the legitimacy of an office, in any office, not just constables, I believe that the people themselves should dictate whether or not those positions stay.
Well, we dealt with that here in Union County, and a lot of it is just misinformation on what constables are and what they do, and how much liability they are to the county as far as if they get in trouble or do something wrong. And there's not a lot of support on the commission side, based on our experience anyway, for constables. And until we fought for them here in Union County, they didn't get the recognition that they deserve, and that kind of thing. And we had constables, and we have constables still out here saving lives on a regular basis.
Yes, sir.
And instead of just patting them on the back and saying thank you, here in Union County, for example, they got a gas allowance of $17 a month, and that got ripped away from them, and that was their thank you. And that's been the biggest disservice and slap in the face to our elected law enforcement that serve we the people. And that's why we fought for them here in Union County, and we'll continue to fight for the office, constitutional office, in the entire state as best we possibly can. And that's why we're also fighting for this Greene County resolution.
Thank you, Jason. I completely believe what you're saying, and there's some real hardships here when we talk about the office of the constable and who supports them and who don't. It seems like every time we have politicians or people who decide that they don't want to do something or they don't want something around, the very first thing that gets mentioned is the word liability. The word liability scares everybody, and it's a word that's used to invade everything with a toxic air. And whether or not that's true, that's what happens. And I think what we're seeing in some of the counties around the state where political motivation or whatever the motivation may be comes into play, and this subject gets brought up where you want to defund basically or take away constables, which are a zero expense to the taxpayers. These constables around the state of Tennessee are out here doing what they do at no expense to the taxpayer. And to take something like that away from the people, it blows my mind that in today's day and time, let's just take a look back at history in the last couple of years, what we've experienced under some very difficult rule in this country in some places. And let's look at places like Seattle. How much do you think the people of Seattle would have given to have had elected law enforcement constables in place when the police and the sheriff's office refused to come into several square blocks where murders and rapes and things like that were taking place, and they called it a no police zone? What do you think those people would have given to have had a Tennessee elected constable in place?
That's exactly right. And that's one of the things that we tried to make our county commission understand, and that they were just misinformed by a constable committee that they formed, that the head of the committee did nothing but lie, and we knocked them lies down one right after another, and unfortunately, this commissioner that was the head of that committee just thought that it would get swept under the rug and just brushed on by, and it would have just got forgotten, and then the constables would have been gone, and he would have got his way. But um, that didn't happen, and we found out about it, and we stood up for the constables. And granted, and in every office, it doesn't matter what it is, mayors, governors, sheriffs, constables, there's always a bad apple somewhere. And to hold the entire group accountable for that one isn't fair. Otherwise, why do we have mayors, and why do we have all these other things?
Why do we have sheriff deputies? Why don't we just toss them all out with the bathwater as well? It's not. It's like how you look at this. It's the principle of the office. It's not. There's nothing wrong with the office. It's how do you hold your officers and whatnot accountable for the work they do? And there's already laws on the books that address this. Am I correct, Constable?
There absolutely are. Ultimately, a judge can step in at any time. There are also some other avenues through the district attorney's office. If there's a bad apple somewhere, that they can do some things to pull those. And when I hear that word liability, and I just cringe every time I hear it, because listen, if we all do our homework the way that we're supposed to, that's what we're supposed to do, right? When we hear an issue, we're all supposed to go out and do our homework, and then we're supposed to make an informed decision and contact those county commissioners or vote based on that informed decision. And that just simply doesn't happen, because if any one of us sit down right now and we did 25 minutes worth of homework in Tennessee, and you can use those search engines any way you need to pull up the law enforcement lawsuits in the state of Tennessee. How many do you think are going to be against police officers, state troopers, deputy sheriffs, and constables? I can tell you that the numbers of police, deputy sheriff, and troopers, at no fault of their own, it's just inherent with the job. That's what happens. Lawsuits arise. But if you want to say that constables bring a higher liability to the table, the numbers just simply do not support that.
Yes, I noticed that myself when I used to do the investigative reporting. We actually covered that particular subject, as like what's the amount of law enforcement entities that get the most lawsuits and charges and whatnot. And it always went back to a sheriff's department or a police department, never the constables. We've had these legends throughout history that with constables, and heard some of the stories through movies, but it still doesn't add up in the numbers comparatively. So
no, it doesn't. I keep hearing the word training, and I can tell you, like I said, 28 years in law enforcement, 28 years solid in police departments and sheriff's offices here in Middle Tennessee, and as a supervisor for a number of those years, and a certified state police trainer myself. I can tell you that the training that I'm getting right now and that I'm required to do through the Tennessee Constable Association is mirrored by what state officers are having to do, county officers are having to do, and police officers are having to do in the state of Tennessee.
Jason, you got a question?
Well, that's one of the things that we have finally seen in Union County, and I hate to keep going back to Union County, but that's what I know, because that's where I live. But we have finally seen a relationship start to form between the sheriff and the constables. And so before, when they were trying to do away with constables, the sheriff didn't want anything to do with them. He wanted them gone too, yada, yada, yada. But now their relationship is better, and the sheriff is actually allowing the constables to come to the trainings that they do, and firearms training, and all those things, and they work together. And like
that's amazing.
Before, the sheriff wouldn't even allow the constables to be part of dispatch. They couldn't be dispatched that way, and MDTs and all that stuff. Well, now our constables have those things, and they're allowed to be part of the radio system and those kinds of things, which is an officer safety thing. And they back each other up. Constable might back up a sheriff deputy, or sheriff deputy might back up a constable now, which before all this kind of blew up, you would have never had that, because they were like, evil fighting brothers. You know, they were part of the same team, but you couldn't look at each other because you couldn't stand each other. And that's just kind of the makeup of how the community was as far as constables and sheriffs. But now they actually work together, and it's a great thing to see, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud to see that we were part of making that happen. And I hope to see that grow across the state as far as the constables go. And that's why it breaks my heart to see this whole Greene County thing come up. So, with that being said, how can we, the people, stand with the constables when their office is challenged by these politicians?
The same way that you stand with every other law enforcement officer in the state of Tennessee, get behind them. Get in contact with your county commissioners. Make your voice known. It doesn't make sense to take law enforcement off of our streets. In this day and time, we need more. If we didn't need more, why would we be funding more positions for sheriff's offices and police departments and troopers and things like that? If we didn't need more, those things wouldn't be happening. We've got to have law enforcement. This is a very historic and needed thing in every county. I'm sad that some counties don't have constables because I think they're extremely valuable. You can do a number of things, not just contact your county commission, get a hold of your mayors, your politicians, start talking about it over coffee. Start supporting your Tennessee Constables Association. You know, everywhere you turn, you see the Sheriff's Association stickers on all these vehicles and everything like that. Hey, if we could get that type of support behind the Tennessee Constables Association, there's no telling what we could do and what change that we could bring into play that would be so beneficial, not just to the constables, but to the people that they're there to protect and help bring peace to.
That is amazing. Constable Barnes, do you have anything else that you want to conclude with?
Not at all. I thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate the hard work that you're putting into this. I know it's going to pay off for these folks in Greene County, and God bless you all.
Thank you. God bless you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And again, thank you for your service, and stay safe out there.
Take care.
Thanks. Good night.
Uh-oh, Stephanie's gone. She left me hanging here. Get my note back up here where we're supposed to be at.
All right. Hold on.
There she is. You just stay on the camera. It won't hurt my feelings.
I had to do what they call a kick out of the studio.
Oh, you done kicked him out. Shame on you.
Well, that's what they call it. It wasn't that I was trying to kick him out, but I had to get him out of the studio. So anyway, back to conclude our discussion with the constables. If you would like to join, I know we're going to have an issue on Monday because we do have a county commission meeting this coming Monday. I'm sorry?
Never mind. Just kidding.
Okay. We have two conflicting meetings. And the only reason we have these conflicting meetings is because of the snow. So we were supposed to go to Greene County Tuesday night, which is their normal county commission meeting, to challenge the abolishment of their their constables, and we got snowed out. So they had to move the county commission to the same night, of course, as our county commission meeting here in Union County. So we're going to have probably to divide up a little bit. So I'm hoping that at least a few of you will go to the county commission meeting. I myself, I'm going to Greene County. And the reason that this is so important, just to kind of give you some solid weight on why this is such an issue, is that when a county does this kind of thing and challenges the office of constable, it makes them a target across the state. So that means that county commissions in Union County, Anderson County, or wherever they have them still. I think there's like 29 counties, I think, if I'm right, that have constables, Jason. There's still quite a few left, but it makes them a target across the state just because it's political. And so we have to fight this battle in Greene County. We're going to have a peaceful protest, just like we did here in Union County outside the Greenville County Court on Monday night. So if you'd like to ride up there with me, please let me know. We'll have all the signs, and we'll probably make some on the way because we got plenty of travel time. And that is weather permitting. We're not going anywhere in bad weather. We just happened to luck out with the snow and gave us a little more time to organize. But Tennessee Freedom Coalition, even though we are based here in Union County, we're taking this. We're taking several policies that we support as conservatives on the road, and Greene County is one of the first ones we've had to travel outside our area to create our activism. And so we're going to do pretty much what we did here. And I believe Constable Barnes is the one who will be addressing the Greene County county commissioners. So he should be very good at that. As you can see, he knows his stuff. And I feel like we're in good hands with him. I'm going as well. I may get an opportunity to speak, but the way Greene County works is different than Union County. Believe it or not, Union County has a lot more liberty, it seems like, than Greene County. In Greene County, in order to be a public, or actually to speak publicly in the county court, you have to have a commissioner sponsor you. Wow. You have to have a commissioner sponsor you. Imagine that here. I hope it never happens, and I hope we, the people, never allow that to happen in our own commission meetings, but that is the way they roll up there. And so, wow, just the fact that that ever went down and that people allowed it to is beyond me, but that's the way it's set up. So we're going to follow the rules of their county commission since we're outsiders coming in. The reason we're there and we're ready for those questions back is because what you do here, guys and ladies, affects us in Union County, especially with this issue. So our constables are a moving target, unfortunately, for bureaucrats and politicians. So we're here for them. If you are a constable, please reach out to us. We would love to have you to join our newsletter. To keep you posted as well about activities we're doing across the state. We love freedom-loving people all across the state. So
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
And I'm getting messages here. Folks that are trying, I know the Facebook is going in and out. Folks, if you're trying to watch us on Facebook, for whatever reason, Facebook's not cooperating. So if you can hear this, go watch us on YouTube. You can watch us on YouTube. YouTube's been working fine, apparently. Facebook is not. I don't know what the deal is. It's a Facebook thing.
Well, I think I know what it is. And I don't like to do podcasts this way, but because we were we had our podcast planned for tonight, but we thought we were going to Greene County and we were canceling it or postponing it till next week because we can't be in two places at one time. So we didn't do any early promotion. And the way that their algorithm works is you have to slowly advertise. So like if you've got a podcast, you have to start advertising it a week out, because if you start trying to share it to a lot of groups and you start
That's
trying
not the issue, Stephanie. Stephanie, the issue is it's just kicking people off totally. It's
well,
just,
I'm
like,
saying I think they're doing it on purpose, but that's
right.
me. I know people
Right.
can
Not,
videos
like
and make
you,
it up, but
like it's not even letting people like get on it. It's like they're clicking the live and it's letting them on for a second and kicking them right back off, and then giving them a screen like we've banned them from our page.
yeah,
That's what it's doing.
we've not banned anyone, and if it's doing that, it's something funky with Facebook. I don't have any control. Go to the YouTube channel. We don't seem to have any problem over there at all. I'm trying to just look.
That's how Miss Beeler got on here. She's one of the ones that messaged me and said, "I'm trying to watch and I can't." And so I told her to go to YouTube.
Yeah, and this is why we have multiple links, folks. We've told people about our YouTube channel now for how long, Jason? Months and months. We've been over there 2 or 3 months, and we've only got 32 followers. So let this be a lesson, okay, to go to YouTube and subscribe to our channel, because we're trying to get away from Facebook, and not completely, but Facebook gives everybody, conservatives across the country, a hard time. They, for whatever reason, if they don't like your politics, they try to screw up your stuff. So we don't have any control of that. Go to YouTube. I tried to get us on Rumble tonight. It did not work, and I've got to check into that. But Rumble would be another way if you could, if we'll ever get that working. But right now, YouTube seems to be fairly reliable. All right. Are you ready to do school choice?
I reckon so. Which school you choosing? UT or Florida? No, I'm kidding.
All right. I'm going to do, just to get us started, Jason, I'm going to do a little slideshow. This is kind of fun because it's the first time we've done one. So I'm going to try to play with the screen here for a minute. Okay. Hopefully everybody can see that. I'm going to kind of give everybody an understanding of, when we say school choice, exactly what we're talking about. All right. So I'm just going to kind of read along here and explain what we're going to be discussing. And then we're going to talk, Jason and I are going to talk about our trip and our takeaways from that trip. So slide 1, about school choice. Tennessee's Education Freedom Scholarships will empower parents with the freedom to choose right education for their child and give them a say in where their taxpayer dollars are spent. Now, just to kind of elaborate, there is a bill pending right now in our state house. It's not a bill yet. It's actually a resolution, legislation called the Education Freedom Scholarship Act. Okay. And this is what we went to Nashville about on that bus trip last week. So we learned a great deal while we were there, and there's no written legislation as of yet. But the cool thing about all this is that we, the people, have the ability to basically lobby our legislators over there to let them know what we want in the bill, how we want the legislation to be for our children. Okay, whether you're a teacher or a parent, you have the ability to be in Nashville as they work through this. We're going to be going over there at least every month to talk to folks and to try to help form the legislation. Okay, and we're going to have a guest on our show here in a few weeks that's going to, really give us some good information about it. But for now, you're stuck with me and Jason. So the next slide. Here are some of the problems that we have without school choice. And these are some of the things that I'm just kind of touching the top of the stack right now. How effective are public schools? Right now, public schools have the inability to customize their education approach for each child. Okay, as you know, public education can be very cookie cutter. Okay, and I think they have 2 career paths, or they used to at the high school, one for college bound and one for trade bound. But that was the only options they had. They were beginning to touch a little bit on it. As far as I know, that's the only thing that they have right now for the kids. As far as anything else, it's pretty much the same for everybody. Financials to the right over here. Public education has become expensive, costing Tennessee families. Now, in Tennessee, it is estimated that with our tax dollars, it's costing about $17,000 per child to put them through the public education system. Okay, $17,000. Okay, so school choice is basically coming along and saying we will take $7,000 and create an educational fund for your child to pay for their tuition, their books, tutoring, all kinds of educational choices that would be made for that child's academic time. Demographics. Public schools are seeing population decreases, although county populations are increasing. This is something that I noticed after checking some state education stats, we're losing population because people are getting disenfranchised with their public schools. So they are doing homeschools. They're doing pod schools. They're doing all kinds of schools. Some people are taking their kids out of the county and putting them somewhere else. So this is one of the arguments you hear from people that want schools, want everybody to have the ability to go to a school like that, but that are afraid of strings being attached, which we'll get into in just a few minutes. They're saying there's always been free choice in schools. And they're right to a point, but not completely. Scores. Public schools are producing failing test scores. Now, we all know that happened, as we saw here a few weeks ago when the test of the individual schools were released. We had several schools that were average. We had schools that were failing. We had some schools that were slightly above average, but we had a lot of failing schools overall. Career limitations. Tennessee teachers are limited in salary and advancement in the career options provided by public education. So that's something that also that many public education teachers may not be aware of, that if this bill passes, if we like it, it goes through, they will have more options on the table. They'll have the ability to make more money, possibly even with less students, and maybe even less time on the clock. So that's going to be an interesting thing. They've got to work out all these kinks, of course, and answer a lot of questions. Solution: educational scholarships. The availability of these scholarships will be discussed. Right now, they're talking about doing it based on economics the first year. That may or may not change. They may pick like what they consider below poverty level, just to kind of get all the kinks worked out the first year, and then go into the full scholarship being open to everyone in the year 2. But that's still kind of on the drawing table. Cost savings. Each child would be provided an approximate $7,000 scholarship. Okay. These are not vouchers, folks. These are scholarships. So I just want to make sure everybody understands the difference in the language there. Eligibility rolled out over the next years, which we just discussed. Easy to use. Educational account would put parents back in control over their education tax dollars. These dollars can be used for tuition, tutoring, transportation, etc. All right, let me get to the next slide. Concerns. Now, here are some of the concerns we've heard. And like I said, this was a fact-finding mission for Jason and I. And we're keeping a very open mind, and we're just really trying to find out the truth, because there's nothing to fear when you're just looking for the facts. So ESA versus voucher. ESAs can be used for private school tuition and tutoring, curriculum, transportation, or other education-related expenses. ESAs go to parents. Universal access. Every family, regardless of their income or zip code, should have access. Strings attached. Many people concerned about the bill do not want private, micro, or homeschools to be required to jump through additional hoops if they accept ESA. Testing. Concerns about the bill include any required changes to the curriculum taught or testing. Slide 6. School choice benefits are as follows: customizing your child's educational path, improved educational outcomes, choosing schools that closely align with values, ability to use public, private, micro, or homeschools, providing a well-rounded education with options unavailable in public schools, and providing better experiences. And that is pretty much it. Let me get back over here and back to the screen. And
There's me.
And there we are.
There's you.
Yeah, it takes a little while for my production fingers to get that straight. All right, so we've seen kind of an outline. If you have any questions about our, sorry about a cat on my table here. If you have any questions about any of this, I've got some information that I'll be happy to get to you. just send me your email or a way that I can upload these documents to you. Gives you a lot more devil in the details. But what we're going to discuss now, basically, Jason and I, is about our trip. We started out early in the morning, didn't we, Jason?
Too early in the pouring down rain.
Yes. So we started out very early on it. I guess it was a Tuesday morning last week, and a lot of wind, a lot of rain, but we got there and got to walk, meet with the folks. So there was a bunch of us traveling together, a lot of conservative folks, had a lot of the same issues we do. A lot of us are undecided about if we can support this bill or not, even though we hope we can. There's some concerns. Just to be completely honest and transparent, there is concerns about the final wording of the bill. And remember that these legislations have to go through a lot of bureaucratic hands. They have to go through a lot of legislators' hands. And there has to be all these different agreements, questions answered. It has to go through all these legislative committees at the state house. It has to pass the Ways and Means Committee. We have to figure out how to pay for it. There's just a lot of questions that have to be answered and a lot of potential problems. And then finally, the governor gets to look at it and make his changes. So this is what we're facing. Now, am I positive about the bill? Yes, I'm very positive about the bill. But we do have some people, a lot of them are in the movement we have here, that have some valid concerns. And I am with those people. And I'm pretty sure Jason is too, about strings being attached to bills. The last thing we need is big government telling us what to do, tracking us down like dogs, all the things that we get in public education happening to this type of a option. So one of the reasons that school choice is so cool is because it does give us a lot of freedom that we don't have now. Now, my kids are too old to be in public school anymore. So I have already public schooled my children, but I'm sure hopefully I'll have grandchildren one day that will be able to decide which school they go to. I was brought up in public schools. My kids were brought up in public schools. Being a economically challenged family, with my upbringing, my mother was a factory worker. Private schools was never an option. There was a Catholic school right down the road. Some of my friends went to that Catholic school. I didn't like their uniforms, but I didn't want to be in a uniform. But they had some very good education. I mean, they did a lot of fun stuff, a lot of cool stuff that I just like, wow, I wish we did that at my school. But I will have to say that in those days, back during the dinosaur age, which I know Jason is grinning about, we actually had a pretty good time in school. I had some good teachers, many that I still honor to this day, that basically gave me some great education, some great experiences, a lot of varied learning, and fun. Yeah. A lot of fun teachers too, and a lot of teachers that, of course, have passed on, that I will always remember as touching my life. So I'm not here to basically down public education, because I grew up in that system. With that being said, as time has went along, especially since the 90s and coming forward, our public schools have gotten worse in their performances. We have failing children. We have kids that can't read or write when they graduate from high school. That's very concerning. When a child can't write, can't write out any type of letter or anything else, can't balance checkbooks, can't do just the things that we have to do as adults. And I know that Jason is going to have a perspective on this, because his daughter just graduated, I believe. And so we all come from different places, and have had different experiences in the public schools. But I will say, I believe that we should have options for our kids, because not all of our kids are wired the same. Not all of our kids learn the same. Uh, Different children have different challenges. Some have learning disabilities. Um, there are just all kinds of reasons why educational choice is a good idea. And so I found that the experience in Nashville, after talking to some legislators, at least one or two, um, was good, because I kind of got to see where their thinking was, and fortunately for us, the legislator that we spoke to had some of the same concerns we did, and in fact, he was probably even more cautious than we came into the office being, because he said, "Guys, you just have no idea." It was that kind of conversation, like, they really want control. And that was his concern, was that this was a control thing. However, with that being said, we're being controlled as it is. And so we're not really going to be, I don't know if, I hope, well, we're not going to vote for anything or be a part of anything that wants control, that wants strings attached. Just not going to do it. So if the language can be to where it is truly a freedom thing, where, the parents get the $7,000, they get to control the money and not the government, I would be very for it. I just think it's good for the parents, but there does have to be some things. I mean, you don't want to just hand somebody 7,000 and hope they spend it for their kid. That's my question is, when they give this educational account out to a child and it gets into somebody's hands, how do you know it's being spent on education? I guess that's one of my, I want to make sure that the money don't get spent somewhere else. So that would be one of my questions, how they control that. So, Jason, with that, give us what you took away from that.
Well, my take on the whole thing is this. Had a great time. Appreciate AFP for taking us out and that kind of thing. Love seeing the old buildings and the history. I'm a big history guy, and that was wonderful to see. Had a great time, like I said. Seen some of the craziness that goes on a little bit out in the shouting in the hallways and all that good stuff. But the young representative senator fellas that wanted to stir up the crowd out there and get them all hooping and hollering and like we were at a football game or something. I don't know, but don't know how much I like that. But
that's
anyway.
what they say about us at the Union County Courthouse. I couldn't
do it out. At least we do it outside, not in the middle of the hallway. But
that is true.
But anyway, so and like I said, I appreciate AFP for taking me out there. Number one, I want to make this very clear. I made it clear to everybody that I talked to, including AFP and the senators and the representatives that we talked to, that I will not support this bill with any strings, period. Point blank, you're not going to take something on the face that is a great thing for the state as far as education goes, and then try to put your little fingerprints on it and try to change things and put these strings on. I will not support that. The way it is, again, like you said, there's no language out there yet. From what I was told, the governor actually has the bill how he wants it. He's just not released it yet to the folks to pick it apart and vote on it yet. My understanding that should be coming out in the next couple of weeks. They said February. So hopefully we'll be able to see the language, and that's going to tell us a whole lot. About how we're going to proceed, or how I'm going to proceed. And I'm just one individual in a great big state. Okay. Some people are going to like this bill. Some people are not going to like this bill. No matter what your opinion is, you have to make the focus what is the best decision for the children of the state of Tennessee. And so on that way of thinking, you think that the way it's being perceived currently is that this is going to be a great thing. It's going to be a great big shakeup for the education system, of course, especially the public education system, of course. But this will be a great thing for parents, for teachers, and ultimately public schools, the public school system, when you get down to the nitty gritty. I've heard how this is going to hurt the public school system so bad, and all these excuses of why this is a bad idea. I don't agree that it's a bad idea. Like I said, don't know the language yet. I got to keep saying that because this law might come out and be something completely different than what I'm saying right now, because we haven't seen the language. But what we're being told about this bill is it's going to be a great thing. And why do I say that? This is what I know as fact currently, because this is what I'm being told currently. Number one, as far as a parent. So I decide that I want my son to no longer go to public school because this is general. I'm not picking on any particular school, especially Union County schools. So don't take it that way. And you just kicked me off the screen. There I am. So don't take it that way. I'm just talking in generalizations, just generic. Okay, folks. So let's say I want to take my son out of public schools and send them to a private school, to a Catholic school, a pod school, a home school, whatever the case may be. If I cannot afford that on my own, currently, I am stuck sending my kid to a public school. So if this law passes, and we've seen the grades of the schools lately, we've seen what 70% of our high schoolers didn't pass the ACT. I think that was the number.
Didn't score 19 is acceptable for college entry.
Okay. Either way, this is not acceptable in my opinion, for the greatest country in the world to have so low scores in our school system, in our education system. It's not acceptable to me. Shouldn't be acceptable to you. And I say that because, and we had, like we've said on the past podcast, we've had some teachers come after us and say, well, a C grade for our school is passing. Well, let me tell you this. I don't want to see educated doctor treating me when there's an A+ doctor available. I'd rather send my kid to an A+ school than a C or a D or an F school. That's just the way it works, folks. We want the best education for our children. And that's how everybody should be. So when you come after us and say, well, C's passing, I don't care. I want the best. I want the best education for my children. I want them to be able to get everything that they need for a great future. Okay. That's what I want. And that's what I hope our children want. They want to be better, to better themselves, to get a better education and better jobs and all these things. Okay. So when we get to the point where if this law passes, we can say, okay, our children to go to public schools, the state gives $7,500 to the public school for our child. Well, now this law passes, and we can say, as a parent, I don't want my child to go to this C-graded school here in Union County. And so we'll say, okay, state of Tennessee, I want to take my $7,000 or $7,500, whatever the final number is. I want to take that money, and instead of giving it to that public school, I want to give it to St. John's Catholic School over here. And that's a made up name. I don't know if there's one, but I want my child to go to that school. And so the state will give that $7,500 to go to that school instead of the public school. And let me also throw this out here, something I didn't know because I was stuck on the $7,700. Let me tell you, our this is what I learned in Nashville, folks. Our actual public schools are getting like $16,000 of money from the state to educate per child. Okay, so when we're talking about hurting the public schools by taking this $7,500 away from the school, they're still getting the rest of the money no matter what. Okay, we just want to make that clear. The public schools aren't going to lose. They're losing some, a little bit of the money. They're not losing everything. First and foremost. So
Well, here's that.
second,
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Just to kind of interject and go back. 83% of parents favor school choice policies, and parents are more satisfied when they choose their own child's school. And this is across all economic barriers and divisions. It's also across partisan lines. So it's not just conservatives that want choice. It's also liberal parents that want choice. So go ahead, Jason. Sorry about that.
exactly, and it's something that shouldn't be conservative, independent, Democrat. It shouldn't be that. It should be what's best for our children. Period. I don't care what affiliation you are. It should be what's best for our children. But anyways, getting back to what I was saying, you drop something.
Yeah, sorry.
You get this opportunity, and let me put it on a personal level. When I was going through school, I went to public school up until my 8th grade year, including my 8th grade year. My 8th grade Spanish teacher in public school seen something in me that she decided that public school wasn't doing a good enough service for me. My family, by that time, my mother was a single parent. My dad was gone, and she was raising all of us kids on her own, and so she couldn't afford to send me somewhere. So I was stuck in the public school system. My 8th grade teacher, Spanish teacher, Miss Andrea Crooks, she decided public school wasn't for me anymore. And she took it upon herself with her teacher's salary that she paid for me to go to a Catholic high school to get a better education because she knew that the public education system back then wasn't doing a good enough job. And I went to a Catholic high school until my senior year of high school when I ended up having to move here and go to Halls High School. And I graduated from Hall. So I was back in public school, but that's a horse of a different cup. So anyways, so that is an example of a public school teacher knowing that some students need to be in a different environment and that the public school system isn't doing a good enough job. Back then, I graduated in 97. So what's that tell you? So it'd been a few years ago. That's where this gray's coming from. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, every child has a different way of learning. So if this law passes, your child that might have a learning disability might be able to get a better education at a one-on-one homeschool or a smaller class, a pod school, something like that. This will give that opportunity. Whereas if you're stuck in public school, you don't. And another perfect example of this, my daughter hates me when I talk about her because I put her on the spot. But my daughter just graduated or is graduating high school. She's 18, turned 18. She cannot tell time. She can't count money and has problems spelling and all these things. But yet she graduates high school. And it just puzzles my mind. you go through school and you graduate, but you don't have the simple things that you need to survive in life. Like she has to be careful what job she goes and applies for because again, she can't count money, so she can't run a cash register. She can't. So that eliminates a lot of grocery store working and, fast food and whatever else she might choose to do. So she has to, if she worked at McDonald's. They tried to get her to run a cash register a few times, and she couldn't because she can't count money. So she got stuck in the back cooking the food. And there's nothing wrong with those jobs. But again, when you're stuck in that position and when your education system has let you down that way, and people say, well, it's your job at home. Well, yeah, it is a parent's job up to a point. But when you've got parents like we kept going to the school and saying, hey, look, we're having this problem. We need help. We're trying to teach her. Can y'all help us too? And yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. And she had IEP and all that stuff. But yet nobody would help her. And let me tell you another thing about this IEP stuff. My daughter was supposed to have special help in several of her classes with this IEP and stuff like that, where they were actually supposed to come in and sit with her and actually go through whatever test she had or homework or whatever it may have been. Let me tell you how many times that she actually had this person come in and help, even though, and this was the majority of her school career. She had this IEP and was supposed to have this extra help. That's how much she got, folks, in this public school. And I'm not blaming anybody, short staffed, whatever the case may be. I don't know. Never got an answer. Still haven't got an answer. But the point is, our public school system, as great as it might be, or great as it might think itself to be, it's failing a lot of our students. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So then you get, again, if this law passes, you get what's better on the other side. Let's flip the coin. Let's say, what is good about this on the public teacher side? Well, you get the public teachers, the school teachers. Let's talk about increasing your income. Let's say Union County, you're making $45,000 a year. Let's say I want to give you an opportunity. This law passes, Miss Teacher here. I said my Spanish teacher's name, so we'll just use Miss Crooks. I say Miss Crooks here. Let's double your salary. You say, how can you say that? Here's how again, the way we're being explained that the law is going to be, let's say Miss Andrea Crooks decides that she does not no longer want to be a public school teacher. She wants to go start her own little school. She's going to have it in her church's Sunday school rooms or whatever, and she's going to have 10 students in this class. Well, you take that 10 students, you give her that $7,500 per student. To run her school. Well, guess what? She just went from making that $45,000 or whatever it is that Union County pays, for instance, their school teachers, and now she's up to $75,000 and has a smaller classroom. Most cases, probably a third the size of what her class was in the public school. So that helps her. Her income has increased. Her classroom is smaller. She has more time to work with each individual student on one-on-one basis. And let me tell you what else. She can teach some of the things that she can't teach in public school. Maybe she wants to start the day by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Maybe she wants to start the day with saying a prayer. Guess what? She'll be able to do that because it's her school. And not only that, but she can. Am I talking too much for you, Stephanie?
No. I was just going to interject that. And the parents that elect that school with that teacher also have a choice on whether or not they want their child to have a prayer each morning. So it works both ways. So no one is forced to go into a school that makes them uncomfortable or where they feel that something is not aligning with their values. That's the whole beauty of this whole thing. Now, a lot of people, go ahead with yours, and I'm going to have another thought after that. Sorry.
So that's all right. So now you've got this help in the school, right? So you've got this new school, this new teacher making more money, so she's happier. She's able to pay more of her bills and all this kind of stuff. You got the parents that are happier because their child is getting a better education because they're getting the more help that they need and all these things that they need. Now we're going to go back to the public school. So now we've taken these 10 students out of that public school and put them in this and Miss Andrea Crook's school. So now guess what? Your public school, guess what? That classroom in the public school is smaller. So maybe those public school teachers have a little bit more time to work one-on-one with their students. Because now, instead of the class having 30 in it, now it has 20. We're doing a better job. See? So it's a win-win as we're being told it is. And as government goes, politicians got to put their hands on it and all these things. So we don't know what's going to change. But as of right now, the way it is seems pretty darn good on all levels. And again, we've got to see what the final wording is. But that's my take on it. Like I said, I'm not going to support anything that has any strings attached. So basically, if it changes a whole lot from what I'm already being told, then I'm not going to support it, and I won't be on here talking about it anymore. That's just the plain and simple truth of it. I've lived the system. I've been in a situation. I just explained it. I've been in a situation where public school wasn't very good for me, and I had the opportunity, thanks to a public school teacher, to get me out of that situation. So I understand. I understand all of it, and I understand being the parent on that side of it. So I understand, and that's why I'm kind of excited about hopefully this passing the way that it should pass. And again, you're talking about how to pay for it. Well, let me back up. You're already paying for it. You just got to reorganize how you're going to pay a different place because the public school is getting the money anyway. So it's not like we have to pay for it because we're already paying. So you're just reallocating the money somewhere else.
The way I understand that financial component, Jason, is that the state funds up to $7,000 per student per year. The rest of the money comes from federal and local funds. Now, the way it's being pitched is that the state would basically take their money and provide that to the parents versus the system. Now, those seats that remain empty in those schools because of that child being taken out will continue to be funded as of now. Unless there's some change on the local level where parents finally stand up and say, listen, we don't really need these big schools anymore because we don't have as many students, or we need smaller schools because we don't have the need for these big monstrous school buildings. So that would be the only way down the road that the money might be decreased as far as local taxation and some on the federal level. But I believe the federal outdoes the local taxation anyway, unless it's capital projects. And of course, the financing and all that stuff of these buildings. So the $7,000 is a state mathematical formula for how much they would come out, which is paid anyway to the schools. It just now goes to the parents instead of the schools. The other takeaways that I had was these students or the parents do not have to necessarily pick a homeschool, a pod school, a mini school, or a private school. They can also pick a well-performing public school. Okay. So like the Oak Ridge City school system, I believe they have A's and B's on a lot of their schools. So if they elected to go to Oak Ridge city school system, they would basically sign up for that school. Now, it would be like a first come, first serve that type thing. And once they reach the amount of people, it would cut off. Then they would have to pick a backup or whatever. But they could actually pick a public school if they liked the way it performed. So there's nothing that says they have to go to a private school. So if you wanted little Johnny to go and be on some big football team and you thought his only way to get an education and be on that big football team is to go to Oak Ridge, I'm just picking on Oak Ridge because they always do so well, then that would be a good choice for you. All right. So there's nothing that says that it has to go away from public schools. Okay. But most likely what is going to happen as this is unrolled, if this passes, you're going to see a small fraction take the route the first year it comes out, probably a very small percentage. Now, why do I think that? Because change is hard, choices are hard, and sometimes people, old habits die hard. People are used to public schools. They're used to the formulas. They're used to, even though they dislike it, at least they're familiar with it. Okay. It's like being in a bad marriage. They're used to it. They're comfortable. It's like an old shoe. Okay. Not calling anybody on here an old shoe, just saying that it's comfortable. It's a familiar place. And so those people, which is probably the majority of people, are probably going to stay in that school system, at least for a few years until they see what's happening. And then as time goes along and as people start having success stories, then they're going to start checking it out and start moving gradually over. And I still think public schools will still have a huge amount of students. I don't think they're going to go out unless something major happens in our country. I really don't see them going down. They're very powerful. They have a very powerful lobby. They will always probably be with us. But I think this puts them on their toes for certain. I think it provides a kind of like a competitive marketplace. So if you've got this school over here that's failing and this school over here that's getting all the good stuff and it's growing and this school's not growing, and then some other things happen, this school, just can't get its act together, I think that you're going to start seeing those public schools diminish more in number as far as who goes to them. And you'll start seeing winning schools getting more of the kids. And, dollars follow energy. Dollars follow success. They won't follow failure. That's why we're having these discussions, because people are tired of failure. Doesn't mean all public schools are bad. It doesn't mean that all public schools are bad in Union County. We do have some good schools here. Even on the test scores, we had some B's. I wish we had some A's, but we at least had some B's, above average. If I had told my mother or justified and I did make some C's and I made one D one time that I'll never forget. And if I tried to tell my mother that, oh, it's okay, Mama, it's average, she'd have slapped me silly. And she'd have said,
I want to point out too, we're not knocking teachers. We've got some great teachers out there. We're not picking on the teachers at all. We're just talking about the system as a whole.
Yeah, and the system is limiting our teachers. We have some great teachers. My kids had some great teachers at Big Ridge School and at the middle school and at the high school. They'll tell you who they are, but it's sometime when they write their first books. But they loved their teachers. They had some good teachers. They had some bad teachers. I heard about them too. Sometimes it's personalities that you like, and sometimes it's teachers that have their act together, that know how to teach. So there's some great teachers out there. There's also some underpaid teachers out there that really, if there was options on the table, you guys should be at the top. There's no doubt you guys should get paid the most salary and have the best classrooms and the best environment possible, because you guys rock. Okay. So we all want our kids to have the best teachers, and those particular schools that actually get the best performances will attract that talent eventually as these opportunities come open. So this is not just about parent choice and kid choice. This is about teacher choice. This is about you guys, the ones that work the hardest, that always excellence is at the top, that you understand your children, you understand the differences in their personalities, you understand how they need to be taught. Perhaps you want to try to implement these in the public schools, but you're not allowed due to policies or whatever. Now you'll have your chance. Now you'll have the best environments to teach the children the way you were taught to do it the best way. Now, another takeaway I had, and I'm going to shut up and let you talk, is no one has seen the legislation. No one. Not I, not Jason, not the people we were traveling with, not even the legislators. Okay? Because it's not in a final format. It's in a working format. And what does that mean? That means that you, the parent, we, the people, have the ability to affect the language. So there's some negativity out there about the bill or about the legislature. There's some negative stuff going on about what the bill says, what it's going to do, and all this. Okay, I've heard a lot of the arguments. I respect the arguments. I respect the concerns. I think you guys have valid concerns just like we do. Pretty much we're on the same page. But I think we sometimes can throw the baby out with the bathwater when we become narrowly focused on what we don't know about. So we need to base our decisions on facts. We need to base our, not necessarily our opinions. We can have opinions all day and we can all disagree. And also our concerns. We should talk about those. But to say you're against something and before the language is out there, to me, is a little short-sighted. I'm just going to put it out there. I think everybody should give this a chance. And if you're concerned, go with us. Go to Nashville with Jason and I and all the other people that have been traveling with us that also have concerns about the language in this bill, because this affects, like for me, it will affect my grandchildren. It will affect the kids growing up in this community that's coming up and along. And we certainly don't want to waste any more of our children's brains on failing schools, do we? So if you want to get away from failing school systems that are not giving you any return, come with us to Nashville and be a part of the solution. That's all I have to say. Jason.
That's exactly right. And, we talked to several of the senators and representatives out there and that kind of thing. And they were all very nice. They were all very eager to hear what we had to say. And, some of us gave us some pins and buttons and, some people got some cookie cake and all kinds of things. But yeah, they were just as happy to see us as we were to be there to talk to them. So you can't stop beeping out there. So you can't be afraid to talk to these folks, people. So when you're thinking, should I go next time or should I not go, or whatever, don't let being intimidated be an issue, because it's not. Because they're people just like we are. You just go out there and introduce yourself and tell them why you're there and tell them your opinion and how you would like to see them vote, and you just go on. And it's like I spoke to some of the AFP folks, and I'm not a member of the AFP. I just happen to go with them. I want to put that out there. I'm not necessarily affiliated with them, other than they gave me the opportunity to go with them. So I just want to be clear as clear can be on that one. But I did talk to them earlier today and told them what I liked and what I didn't like about the trip that we took, and because they asked me for my input, and so I gave it to them. And so you can't be afraid to go out there and voice your opinion. That's what it's all about. That's what America was made on. People getting out there and fighting for what they believed in. And so you go out there and you talk to these folks, and exactly what I told these AFP folks. I think that we need to do a better job of talking, because we do a really good job about going and talking with people that actually support what we're already supporting, because it's easy. It's you go and you get, yeah, I agree, blah blah blah, as opposed to going and talking to some of the folks that might not be on the same page and trying to win them over. And that's one of the things that I discussed earlier, that I thought maybe we should go and like maybe talk to the ones that didn't really want to talk to us, and that kind of thing, and get them involved in the conversation, as opposed to just getting some gratifications from the ones that are already supporting what we already support. And so that's where I guess I think a little different than some other people, because I can go and I can talk to those people and be like, you don't have to agree with me, but here's what I think, and here's what I would like for you to do, as opposed to going into an office and saying, hey, I already know that you agree with what I'm saying, so basically I'm just wasting my time. But not wasting my time. Let me rephrase. I'm just here reiterating what we both already believe in, and so continue to vote the way you are, or whatever. But so that's my thing. Uh, we got to win more people over than necessarily keeping the people that we already
I will say that the state legislature, in my dealings presently and in the past, has been a very good one. Um, when Chad was in office, the legislature was very cordial, always willing to listen. They didn't ever make me feel like I was, pestering them or anything. Always gave me an ear. Might be for just a minute, but they would give me an ear. Now, pretty much the same way, very professional. Um, I don't always see that. I know that I know they have more. Listen, I know they have more budget and more ability to, I guess, be professional. I've only seen that professionalism with a few of our county commissioners. um, I think we do have a few, even the ones that voted for the tax increases. Some of them are very professional. Okay, if you separate the two issues, they're professional. They've been kind to us. They've given us an ear, even though they didn't agree with us, and they told us their concerns back, countering us. But the one thing I will say for those commissioners is they were very welcoming to hear opposing views. There's only been a few commissioners that we just can't get through to because of I guess you'd say, they take everything personally. We don't deal with personalities here at the coalition. We deal with policies and issues. And I think that's the problem that some people have with us, is they try to make it into a personality contest, and we're just trying to get to the bottom of the issues. And so every time we attack a policy that they make, they take it personally. That's just, to me, not professional on their part, because if they're in this for, to do these good things with their offices, they got to have a little tougher skin than that. And so we just ask our politicians, our county commission, our school board, we have nothing against you personally. We just want to talk with you about issues that affect your constituents and that we believe affect the majority of our community. And just because we have a difference of opinion doesn't mean that we're your enemies. But, when you go to Nashville, if you join us this next month on February 6th and just walk with us around the Capitol, you'll get to see how it works and you'll really see that you do have a lot of the power. You have really all the power. These commissioners, a lot of them are just, they don't understand everything about these issues. Please don't think they do. They need us to educate them. They need help making decisions. They have so many things that come across their desk that they appreciate any help you can give them. Okay. Unless it's something that they're just very narrowly focused on, um, that they're just already decided on, most of them will give you the time of day. Literally, they will give you they'll tell you, I'll talk with you a few minutes, and my time is limited because I got other people, but they will talk with you. Now, the best time to talk with your commission, I mean, not your commission or your legislator, is after once session gets started. Just give them a call at their office. Our legislator there, our state rep, is Dennis Powers, and our state senator is Frank Nicely. Frank is wonderful. Frank, you can give him a call. He will talk with you. He'll also tell you some great stories that everybody just loves. He's got a wonderful personality and just a very cordial guy. He's been in the legislature a long time. And so he's very experienced. He understands the system and how it works. And we've got some new legislators over there, don't we, Jason?
We do. We've got some very interesting characters over there.
One thing I wanted to say about those folks that make all the noise and the hubbub that everybody gets mad at. Okay, they're on the wrong side. They're on a different part of politics than we are. They're on the left. Okay. The one thing that I don't like that has just happened because of these folks, and they knew what they were doing. Let's face it, they knew that creating these disturbances would probably cause the whole legislature to just, start disallowing people to come in there. We were not allowed into the chamber because now they have all these limits on who can come in, and you have to be sponsored by a legislator and all this craziness that didn't used to exist, because they had this big brouhaha with the Tennessee Three, is what they're called, and they're on the left side of politics. Okay, they're all Democrats, and they basically scream and yell and go on and create a disruption out in the main floor, and did inside the chamber as well. And then they were censured, okay, last year, and that's caused a big storm in the legislature. Okay, so that means that now it's harder for people to get heard, and I don't particularly like that approach. I think that the legislature kind of went a little too far with it. I think that could have been treated a little differently, and people could still be allowed in there to talk. I don't like it anytime that the public who paid for that court, who paid for that building, who voted those people in over there, that now we don't have the right to come in there when we want to. I mean, I do understand they have security issues, and I understand we're living in some very volatile times, but I think that they're getting a little too protective with their presences.
Well, part of that too was they had one whole side of the gallery shut down for nothing but press, and that took some of the space down too. But yeah, they gave away, and even one of the senators there said, they only gave us one ticket to get anybody in, and normally we let several people in. So, I mean, they even got limited themselves because of all the craziness going on, and certain groups were allowed in and other groups weren't, and all that kind of thing. So I don't know. It's just something to talk to them maybe next time we're down there about, and maybe they can get all that taken care of and fixed. It's supposed to be a house for the people, and the people got shut out in the hallway. So That's not
That
too
was a bummer.
kosher.
That was a bummer. That was the
Yeah.
only bad takeaway I had. And the other thing that happened, not to just look at the negative as we get accused of, but they have a roll call. They're supposed to have had a roll call restored to the committees, the House committee. So they form basically from the state legislature. They form these committees, and these um, legislative bills come through these committees, and they have to be approved. Well, in some legislative bodies, they have to do a roll call, which tells you who voted for actions in that committee. Well, heavily this year that the people said we want to see the votes, especially the groups like our group here that are following these bills. We want to see how the committees voted so we can hold those folks accountable for how they voted either way. They denied. They said no, we're not doing it, and basically just ignored the will of the people to have roll call votes, which makes it very difficult now to know who voted to set these bills up. This is why it's so difficult to track these bills. You can get online and go to the Tennessee legislature website and look at the bills, but you can't look at the individual actions of who voted for what inside the committee. Okay. So it makes it difficult unless you're right there in Nashville and can figure out who voted for what in person. So that's something we need to work on too, and getting the will of the people restored with that. Because people want to see now people are very upset with non-transparency in these government bodies, just like what we have here in Union County. The problem is that when people don't go to these committees and they're trying to emulate that with our county legislature. So the question becomes why, people can go to the the committee meetings and such. And as you know, we had some rules made about our own committees. But it's hard to get exactly who voted for what. Have you noticed that, Jason?
Yeah, it's
Me-
kind of like they don't necessarily want you to know, but letting you know a little bit. So
Well, I have a problem with it. If they're going to act like the state here in Union County or any county, really, if your county commission has all these little committees and they're emulating the state, they're copying exactly what the state's doing, they should at least provide the services from those committees to let the people know how those committees are voting for the topics. It should be just as transparent as the county commission meetings. And I'm talking about videos, I'm talking about roll call, and having it publicly announced so that people can follow these bits of legislature right up to the main county commission meeting. I just think that would be a great service to the people. And then the final thing is please get yourself some microphones and put them up on your headset so people can start understanding what you're saying at the commission meetings. That's going to be the big push right now for the Tennessee Freedom Coalition, is to get these people mic'd in 24. What say you, Jason?
exactly, and I don't see why it's so difficult. And we had this issue a while back, like the recording of the meetings and stuff like that. And the mayor made a big deal about he bought a camera, and they started filming it on their camera and all this stuff. Well, then that went away. I don't know what the deal is with that. I know that the battery wouldn't last long on that camera or whatever the case may be, and that kind of thing. But uh, here's the bottom line: uh, for a county to want to be so transparent, again, we go back to why are they letting other outlets, film the meetings and stuff like that, and not having the database for themselves. It's like they don't really want you to be able to find it on their terms. It's more of, okay, well, you've got to go to this other outlet, this other business, or this other group and dig through their stuff because we don't want to make it too easy for you to find it on ours. So you should be able to have an archive, and I know Knox County does. And yeah, Knox County is a bigger county, blah blah blah. I don't want to hear none of that junk. I mean, it's fairly simple. You record your own meeting. You make sure you can hear the meeting. You can make sure that you can hear the people talking, and you record your own votes. You archive your own stuff. And to me, that's what the government, our government, local government, I don't care if it's city, county, or state or federal, I don't care what government it is, they should be archiving their own stuff. And in a manner that is easily heard and easily seen and easily gotten to. Um, I mean, it's just the fair way to be in this 2024 in the United States of America. It's not like we don't have the technology to do such.
I don't understand why they can't mic each person and just have a headset, or at least one mic in front of them. But the problem is you've got commissioners, and I've watched them. Not making fun of nobody, but I don't have room to even lay back here. But you have the microphone like right in front of them that they could access and talk into. Okay. And you've got them going back here and over here and, all this craziness, very animated. Well, for those type of folks that like to move around, asking them to wear a headset would not be a big deal. And it's not a lot of money.
It's not even necessarily a headset. You can get a lapel mic for each one of those commissioners.
That's true.
I used them in my auction business. You get them $20 a piece or less, and just get rechargeable batteries and get on with it. It's not that difficult. It's not like it's something that's just impossible and it's going to take a lot of time and effort to do. It's simple, and I don't understand why we're making it so difficult. And some people might think, well, it's not that big of a deal. Attend the meeting. Well, even if you attend the meeting, you can't hear them half the time.
They mumble, and it's like they you just can't hear what they're saying.
And part of that too is the way it's set up. And it's been that way a long time, I understand. But the way that the commission is set up in that courtroom isn't it's a disservice to the community, especially those that are there in the meeting, because the ones that are their backs are to you, you can't understand them at all because you can't see that. You can't even see their mouth and try to make out what they're saying because their back's to you. And that's why most, even the city of Maynardville is set up that way. They're all facing you for the most part. And most every commission, city council, most everyone I've ever seen, they've been set up in a U or a C shape or something, so they're all facing the audience. And our county commission isn't, and I understand it's because they use the courtroom, and I understand that, but there has to be a better solution to letting the public be able to hear and see what's going on. And again, I know some people are going to say, well, that's not a big deal, but it is a big deal when you get down to wanting to be as transparent as possible as a local government. And that's just what we're asking for. And it's not, shouldn't be that big of a deal.
Because we're solution oriented, Jason and I, I'm going to volunteer us with your help, of course. We're going to have some solutions, some architectural plans, or at least some loose furniture plans drawn out of how they could furnish the place to where they could have everyone facing the front. And I've seen the concept used in courtrooms similar to the size of Union County's courtroom as far as the width. And it would allow them to still have the court the same way. But you would add seats basically at the top where the mayor, the gavel and all that stuff, you would just add across there, and you probably would have to build a little platform up there and have everyone up there next to the mayor. And so that could be worked out. Probably take a little bit of money to do it, not much compared to what we spend for everything else. Surely we can come up with some money to make our county commission more transparent to where we, the people, can make sure they save our money.
Hey, I've got a solution too, because I already know it's coming. You know, when they move down to the middle school, because we already know for the most part, most likely the jail's going to be built there on the football field, the way it's looking, and they're going to move some, courtrooms and such down to the middle school that wasn't usable before, but apparently now is. You just take the old auditorium there, put county commission up there on the stage. You got all the seats for the community to be able to sit and watch the meeting. And yeah, they'll be up a little higher, but they want to be up higher than everybody else anyway. So win-win for everybody. Just put some microphones on them suckers and let us hear what they're saying.
Yeah, the only thing that I don't like about the school board meeting meets in the auditorium. I think that's still right. When I was going to the school board meetings a lot when I was a reporter, the only thing I didn't like about the auditorium is that it's too big. You get a lot of, you can hear most of the time you can hear better, but they're too far away. It's like they're way up there at on these like throne type things. They're up on a stage. So they're elevated and they're far back from you. I don't know if I like that. I kind of like I like the coziness of the courtroom. I like them being closer to the people. I just want them to where they're all facing the same direction. I just think that would be so much more professional and transparent.
That's what I'm saying. You get them down there to the middle school. If that's what they're going to do, I'm assuming that's what they're going to do. That's what it seems like they're going to do. Then that would be an easy fix for them to do that and not cost the taxpayers a whole lot of money.
Right.
But, you look at Knox County, City County building where they have their meetings. I mean, that's a huge room. I'm sure you've been in there. It's a huge room with tons of seats. And, yeah, they're lower because all the seats go up. But they're all facing forward. You can hear what they're saying because they have microphones that work. And it's the way it should be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you got anything else, Jason, for this evening?
I do not, because I'm freezing.
Yeah, Jason is in his studio over there, and he doesn't have any heat or very little heat. So I appreciate you sacrificing your
This is my heat right here. This is my heat.
Just don't build no flames over there. But anyway, we will be back on here on the Tennessee Freedom Coalition podcast, Tennessee Thunder, next Tuesday night. Remember, County Commission and the Greene County Rally for the constables will be next Monday, January 22nd. For those of you who want a ride to Greene County, who want to ride with me, I have several seats available. I have up to 3 available seats in my vehicle. I'll be happy to give you guys a ride over there as we do our peaceful rally. And basically, like I said, this involves Union County just as much as anybody, because if they start doing away with our constables over there, it'll be just a matter of time to where we'll embolden some other county commissioners to start coming after our much needed law enforcement. And we certainly don't need to throw good law enforcement officers out because of politics right before a major recession. I think we're actually already in recession, but property crimes and crime in general goes up If you've ever lived in a recession before, you know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of crime that happens with recessions. So we definitely don't want to get rid of our law enforcement. We don't want to defund police and those kind of crazy things just because of bureaucrats. So if you're interested in going with me to Greenville, contact me at 865-279-0730 or reach out to me here on the group or on the page, and I'll be happy to meet with you. Anything you guys say, Jason?
Nope, that's it. I don't have anything else. So if you're done, I'm done.
We done.
All right. Remember to pray for me. I'll pray for you. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Tennessee Thunder podcast. We appreciate you joining us tonight. Remember to join us next week on the 22nd for the County Commission meeting, on the 23rd for our next Tennessee Thunder podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, share this out. Might want to think about joining us on YouTube from now on, since Facebook is starting some nonsense apparently. But we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us once again. Stay safe out there. Stay warm. I know there's some power outages here in Union County. So be safe. If your power is out and it's not warm, hopefully you can make it somewhere else. I know Union County doesn't have a warming center. I know that's been a big topic too. Every other county has a warming center around, but Union County does not. So reach out for somebody. Don't stay in a cold house or whatever and freeze to death. Just reach out to somebody, and hopefully somebody can get to you and that kind of thing. But like I said, remember to pray for me. I'll pray for you. And thank you and good night.
Good night, everybody. God bless.